Begin by closing your eyes if you haven't done that already. Settle into your mat. Feel the sitting bones where they touch the mat. You might be on a blanket or a block. Eyes are closed. Spine is straight. Crown of the head lifts up. Breathing through the nostrils in and out. Focusing slowly. Buddha said, no matter how hard the past is, we can always begin again. That seems to be an appropriate sentiment for the first day of the new year. Open the eyes, let the hands come down by the sides. Raise the arms up high in the air, bring the palms together, and then hands come to heart center. Drop the hands to the sides, palms come up together, hands to heart center. Once more, palms by the sides, hands come up. Now this time we're going to twist to our left, right hand to left knee, left hand behind the torso, and feel a twist in the body. Twist comes from the stomach. Let that right hand rest gently on the knee. And then twist back forward, arms come high. And we twist over to our right. Right hand behind, left hand on the right knee. Spine is straight, crown of the head lifts up. Torso turns over to the right. And once again, we come up and hands come back down. Behind, we're going to stretch the legs out long and let them be wide. Our hands are supporting us. Fingers point forward. We're going to begin by turning this left foot in and sweeping it over to the right, and then turning it out and sweeping it back. Other side, right foot turns in and sweeps over, turns out and sweeps back. Left foot turns and sweeps in, turns out and sweeps back. Other foot turns and sweeps in, turns out and sweeps back. Turn in, turn out, sweep back. Turn in, feet come towards each other, or I guess right foot comes towards left and back. We continue this motion several more times. Once more on each side. Sweep in and out. Sweep in and out. Very good. While we have our hands back in this position, let's bend the knees. And the knees are a little wider than hips width distance here. And the feet are flat on the floor, if you can do that, or flat on your mat. We're going to start with the left knee and simply turn it in. Pull it hard so we can feel a little stretch in that left hip. Back up. Knee turns in. Pull hard. And up. Left knee in. And up. Right knee in. And up. Left knee in. And up. Right knee in. And up. Now, I'm going to give you the option of lifting your toes off the ground and using your heels as kind of pivot points here, so that as we move in, the toes are off the ground. Move in, Toes are off the ground. You may find that when your toes are up off the ground, you may be able to move your knee just a fraction further. You may be able to make that bend be a little deeper and possibly put a little bit of additional stretch into the hip. Two more on each side. There's my left side, right side, left side, right side. Very good. Finally, in our seated pose here, let's bring the soles of our feet together and come into a butterfly position. Knees fall away. Now take a moment to straighten the spine, lengthen the spine. Maybe do that on an inhale. Inhale, the spine lifts, crown of the head goes toward the ceiling. And as we exhale, we begin to fold forward in our bound angle pose. Now your feet, your hands might be holding your feet or your ankles or your shins, whatever works for you today. On an inhale, lengthen. On an exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, fold. And when you get folded about as far as you think you can, let the head and neck be loose. Head hangs down. This is a good pose to practice softening the various muscles in the body. You may find a certain amount of tension in the shoulders of the upper arms, or the upper legs that you might be able to intentionally relax. Come back up and let's make our way onto our backs. Take a moment to just settle into the mat here on your back. Feel those parts of the body that are making contact with the mat. As you breathe, you can let the body soften with each exhale. Open the eyes if they're closed. Hug the knees into the chest. Pull those knees back enough so that you might begin to feel the tailbone lift off the mat just a bit. Now we're going to go through a little flow here, a little movement. I'm going to start with my left knee, and I'm going to release my left knee. My left hand comes down to the floor. I send my left leg out and bring it down to the mat. Then I bring it back in and hug it back in with the left hand. Right hand releases, right leg extends, right leg comes down to the mat. Then the right leg comes back, and my right hand pulls that right knee back in. Left leg long, left hand out, leg to the mat. Left knee bends, comes back in, hand grasps it. Right hand out, right leg long, down to the mat. Right knee back in, hand grasps it. We're going to continue this. Left leg, extend and contract. Right leg, extend and contract through several more rounds. Now, I'm going to ask you to end after the right leg has been extended and comes back. So when you do your next right leg in, you can stop. Plant both feet to the mat and take both feet out about as wide as the mat. So each foot's on an edge of the mat. Send the arms out in T position or in cactus arms. And then drop both knees over to the right, lifting this left hip up off the mat. Come back to center with the knees. And let both knees drop to the left, letting this right hip come up off the mat. And continue this kind of windshield wipering motion. It's not real fast. And as we get to the far right, we're going to pause for a breath or two while the knees are down. And as we get to the far left, we're going to pause for a breath or two while the knees are down. Nice and slow, intentional motion. The next time the knees come from the left, back up to the center, stop. Bring the knees close together, feet are about hips width distance apart. Stretch the legs out long and bring the arms overhead into a full body stretch. Now we'll move through a little flow here. Begin by bringing the right knee in toward the chest and grasping the right knee with both hands and pulling it in tight. Feet can be flexed, toes pointed toward the ceiling. Let the left hand fall away in T position and let the right hand guide the right knee down to the right toward the mat. Right knee comes back to center. Left hand comes across the body and grasps the knee, while the right hand extends out in T position. Left hand pulls that left knee over to the left, letting the right hip come up off the mat. Then the right knee comes back up. Both hands grasp behind the leg, and then the foot stretches forward, sole faces the ceiling. Now we're going to release the leg, letting the leg drop down and the hands go overhead, returning to our full body stretch. Left side, left knee bends, knee comes toward chest, both hands grasp the knee and pull it in tight. Release the right hand off to the right in T position and let the left hand guide the left knee down toward the mat. Knee comes back to center, right hand swings across and grasps the knee, while left hand goes out in T position and right knee falls over to the right. Left knee falls over to the right. Left knee comes back to center. Both hands grasp behind the leg. Leg straightens, sole of the foot faces the ceiling. We pull that leg back towards the chest. We release the leg, it falls. We do our full body stretch, arms go overhead. We're going to go through that sequence one more time. Left knee pulls in, hands grasp the knee, pull it in toward the chest. Left hand falls away, right hand guides the right knee down to the right. Knee returns to center, left hand grasps the right knee, right hand goes out away from the body to position, and the left hand guides the left knee over to the left. Knee comes back to center, hands rest behind the leg straightens. And pull that leg in toward the chest, sole of the foot faces the ceiling. We release the leg and return to our full body stretch. Left knee comes in toward the chest. We grasp it with both hands, pulling it in tight. We release with the right hand. It moves away from the body while the left hand guides the left knee down toward the floor. Left knee comes back to center. Right hand comes across and grasps the knee. Left arm goes out away from the body while the right hand pulls that left knee down to the right. Left knee comes back to center. We grasp behind the leg, straighten the leg, sole of the foot faces the ceiling. We pull that leg back toward the chest. And we end by releasing the leg and moving back into our full body stretch. And then we bring our arms to the sides. Bend the knees. We're going to move into our figure 4 pose or our reverse pigeon pose. So we're going to begin with taking the right ankle and crossing it over the left thigh just by the knee. Take your right hand and begin by pushing your right knee. Pushing your right knee back and forth, letting that knee move, loosening up that right hip. Now come to stillness. You can stay here. There's plenty of stretch in the hip here. One option you have is to lift your toes, which will put a little additional stretch in that hip. You can lift your foot off the mat a few inches. That'll add some stretch. Or you can reach through behind the left leg, interlace the fingers, and pull that leg back. Now the amount you can pull back will, of course, affect the amount of stretch in the right hip. Release the right foot down to the mat. The left foot down to the mat, then the right. Other side. Cross the left ankle over the right thigh. Take the left hand under the left knee and move that knee forward and back, stretching that left hip. Now come to stillness. You have the option of staying here, of raising the toes, which will add a little stretch, of lifting the foot off the mat, which will add a little more stretch, or of reaching through behind the right leg and interlacing the fingers and pulling that right leg back, which will give the most stretch in this position for that left hip. Bring that right foot down to the mat and then the left. Keeping the knees bent, roll over onto your left side. And we're going to move into tabletop position. So you're going to want to spin around and come on up into the table. Your wrists will be under your shoulders. Knees will be under hips. Gaze will probably be 6 or 8 inches ahead of the fingertips. We'll begin with some cat-cows. On an inhale, drop the belly with the head. Cow pose. On an exhale, round the back, let the head drop. Cat pose. Inhale the cow, belly drops, head lifts. Exhale to cat. Back arches, head drops down. Continue to inhale into cow pose and exhale into cat pose. Feel free to close your eyes as you let your breath guide you through these two poses. The next time you come from cat pose to neutral, stop. Now we're going to do a little bit of stretching and movement of the hips here while we're in our tabletop pose. I'm going to start with my left leg, and I'm going to simply lift that left knee off the mat a small amount, and then just send my leg back so that it's stretched out straight, and then back. The knee won't come down back to the mat. It'll stay hovering above. Back and straight. Back and straight. Back and straight. 3 more. Back. Back. Last one. Back. Now keep the knee hovering. And this time, we're going to bring the knee up to the side. So the knee comes out and away from the torso. Up. We're going to hold that position for a second or two. And down. Up. Hold that for a second or two. And down. Up. Hold that for a second or two. 1 more. Up. Now the knee can return back to the mat. Other side. Right knee lifts off the mat a bit. Leg extends out straight. And the knee comes back to its starting position. Straight. And back. Straight. And back. Straight. Back. Straight. And back. 2 more. Straight. And back. Straight and back. Now this might be a little hard to see from the angle on the camera. I'm going to take my right leg, knee is still up, hovering off the mat. Right leg comes out and then in. Up and in. Up, we'll hold this for a second or two. And down. Up, we'll hold a second or two. And down. Up, we'll hold a second or two, and down. 1 more, up and down. Knee comes back to the mat. We're going to move into child's pose. Toes come together, knees go wide, hips sink back toward the heels, forehead comes to the mat. Now you might want to take your arms and send them down so that the wrists are near the ankles. Gives you a chance, if you wish, to rotate those wrists and take any stretch or discomfort out of them that you might have had while you were in tabletop. Now, come back up the table, but come down onto your forearm. We'll give the wrists a little bit of a break here. We're going to do a variation of a pose or position that we sometimes do from downward facing dog. What we're going to do is start here. I'm going to start with my left leg. I'm going to lift the left leg up and then bend it so that the left foot is crossing over my lower right leg. And I'm pulling my knee, my left knee is pulling up toward the ceiling, opening up that hip. This is a little easier to do, I think, in this position than from downward facing dog because there's less pressure on the wrists and the arms. Bring that knee back down to the mat. Other side. The right leg comes up and twists so that the right foot is crossing over the extended left leg and the right knee is pulling up toward the ceiling. This pose is intended to open up the hips also. Bring that knee back to the mat. We're going to curl the toes, come up into the table, and then push the hips up and back into downward facing dog. While you're in down dog, pedal the feet. Let each heel alternately come close to the mat and then go up. Stretching the backs of the legs. Look forward between the hands and gently step up into a forward fold. Now in this forward fold, bend your knees as much as you need to feel comfortable, to give any release you need to the backs of the legs or the low back. Let the neck be loose, head hangs, upper arms are relaxed. On an inhale, come up halfway to a flat back, head extends, tailbone goes back. Exhale, fold. Inhale again to a flat back. Cross the arms in our ragdoll pose so that each hand grasps its opposite elbow. And if you wish, you begin to sway from side to side. Now you'll notice one arm's on top, one on the bottom. Switch that so the bottom arm moves to the top. And if you're swaying, come to stillness. Fold down in. Let the hands go down. On your next inhale, come all the way up, bringing the hands high, palms come together, and then palms come to heart center. Let the hands drop down by the sides. Let's just do a few twists here, twisting at the waist, letting the arms loose. Now, see what happens when you raise the arms. You may find that you're able to do the twist a bit more deeply. And come to stillness, let the hands come back down. Take a moment while we're in our mountain pose here and check to see that the feet are about hips width distance apart. Lift the toes up off the mat, spread them wide, and then let them come back down. You want equal weight in each foot and the weight distributed fairly equally left to right and front to back. Let the arms come up high, palms come together. Turn the palms away, fold forward. Come all the way down into a forward fold. Once again, bending the knees as much as necessary. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse your swan dive. Come all the way up, palms come together. Turn the palms away, fold forward again. Flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, swan dive, reverse swan dive, all the way up, palms come together. And finally, we're going to turn the palms away, swan dive, folding forward. Inhale, draw flat back. Exhale, fold. Reverse your swan dive, come all the way up. Palms come together, and then hands to heart center. Take a moment or two to just close your eyes, palms face forward, hands down by the hips, and breathe through the nose. Open the eyes. I'm going to go through a little balancing sequence here that will help with loosening hips. I'm going to keep my hands down by my sides as I do this initially. And if you want, you could have, you'll decide once you get started, I think, a chair on one side to for some support or a wall. I don't think you'll need it, but you might. So here we go. I'm going to start by putting my weight, my right foot, and I'm going to work my left leg. Left knee comes up and then down. I'm not going to hold it up very long. My goal here is not balance as much as it is movement of that hip and knee as I raise the leg. Now we're going to add a little bit to this. This time when I raise my leg, I'm going to bring my arms up. Leg comes down, arms come down. That will have a little effect on my balance. So you might choose, if balance is an issue for you this morning, you might choose not to raise those arms. 2 more times. Very good. Now we're going to modify that movement. I'm going to start here with my hands on my hips. You can feel free to keep your hands down by the sides or heart center if that's better for you. And we're going to lift the leg, turn the leg out, and then bring it back down. And again, this is going to be I'd like it to be an intentional movement, not a real fast one, but it doesn't have to be slow either. So the knee comes up, turns out, comes down, up, turns out and down, and down. And one more. Very good. Okay. Other side. I'm going to start with my hands down by my sides. I'm going to put my weight in my left leg. And my right leg will do the work this time. Up, down. Knee comes up and down. Knee up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down. Now we're going to change this and raise the arms. If that provides too much challenge for your balance, you can hold something or keep the arms down by the sides. Up, down. Knee and arms up, knee and arms down. Up, down, up, down, up, down. 2 more, up, down. Last one, up, down. Now we'll do that movement where we turn the knee out once we've lifted it. I'm going to do that with my hands on my hips. You can keep your arms down by the sides at heart center, whatever works for you. Weight goes into my left foot, right knee up, out and down. Right knee up, out and down. Right knee up, out and down. Out and down. Up, out and down. Up, out and down. 2 more, up, out and down. Up, out and down. Very good. Okay. I'm going to step up here to the front of my mat, and I'm going to take my left foot back and move into my Warrior Two pose. So in Warrior Two, my back foot is parallel to the short edge of the mat. My front leg is bent. My knee is either over or just behind my ankle. I'm going to begin with my hands and heart center and turn my torso a little bit to the left so my shoulders are parallel to the long edge of the mat. And then I'm going to extend my arms out long, gaze over my front fingertips. Warrior two pose. Let's move into reverse warrior. Flip the front palm, let it come up high. If it doesn't affect your balance, let your gaze follow that front hand up toward the ceiling. Back hand can be along the back leg, or it can bind along the back of the waist. Let's move back into our warrior two position. We're going to come down into our side angle pose, but we're going to, instead of raising our back arm, we're going to put our left hand on the left hip. Now, be cognizant of this left shoulder. It's easy to let it fall in. We want to keep it pulled back so that our torso is fairly straight here. We're going to go through a little exercise where we're going to raise this right arm off the thigh. And there are three ways we could do that. We could just move the arm. That's not what we're going to do. We could move the shoulders. We could let our shoulders move. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to use our hips. So what we're going to do is keep the arm up to the shoulder fixed. That won't move. The movement will come from the hips. It's coming from down here. So begin to move up and down, moving the hips. You might start to feel some tension or soreness in the right hip. 3 more. 1, 2, 3. When we come back to our side angle position, and then move back into our warrior two. Now bring the hands to the hips, and we're going to change direction. So I'm going to square off my right foot and point my left toes forward, bending my left knee. I'll begin by putting my hands in heart center and twisting my torso a bit to the right so my shoulders align with the long edge of the mat. There's a straight line from the front heel to the back instep. Arms go out straight, gaze is over the front fingertips. Warrior two. We'll move into our reverse warrior. Flip the palm, bring the palm up, hands come down by the sides. Back hand can be along the leg, or it can bind along the back of the waist. Move back into our warrior two position. Then bend the front elbow, bring it down to the front thigh. Right hand on right hip. Be careful not to let that right shoulder fall in too much. We want to pull it back. And once again, we're going to go through that movement of raising that arm off the thigh by using the hips. So our arm off the shoulder stays fixed as we begin to lift and drop using the hip or hip muscles of both hips. Remember to keep that right shoulder pulled back. Let's do 3 more. 3, 2, 1. We return to our warrior two pose. Then bring the hands to the hips and step to the front of your mat. Palms go up, they touch, and then we turn the palms away and fold forward, planting the hands and dropping the knees to the mat. We're going to come down onto our stomachs, crossing the forearms at the front of the mat so they're parallel to the short edge of the mat, and letting the forehead rest on the hand. Now we're going to bring the legs together, knees touch. Bend the knees, both feet go up into the air. Just move the feet away from each other so the lower legs make a V shape. And then bring it back. Open to make the V shape. Coming back. Open into a V. Coming back. Open into a V. 3 more on these 3. Pull the feet down toward the floor a little harder on each opening. 3. The opening into a V. Close. 2. Open into a V. Close. Last one. Open into a V. We'll hold this one for a few additional breaths. And then close. Now send the knees out wide. Feet go straight up from the knees. This time we're going to cross the feet into an X shape. Now, you'll notice that one foot is closer to the torso and one is further away. As we open the knees and recross them in the opposite order. Open. Cross the way they were the first time. Open. Cross the way they were the second time. We'll continue opening and closing the knees, changing the one that's in front each time. Let's do 2 more on each side. 1. And other side. Last one, open. And the last time, we can bring the knees back together and let the feet go out long. Okay, very good. We're going to roll over onto our backs. And move through a movement, go through a movement that we did when we were first starting here. We're going to send our arms out to the sides in, let me take it back. We're going to extend both legs long. Extend the arms overhead. We're in our full body stretch. We're going to go through that little flow we did at the beginning of practice. We're only going to do it one time. We're going to begin by bringing the right knee in toward the chest, pulling it in. Both feet are flexed. Then we're going to release the left arm away from the body and let the right hand guide the right knee down to the right. Right knee comes back to center. Left hand comes across and grasps the knee. Right arm goes out. And the left hand pulls that right knee over to the left, letting the right hip come up off the mat. Knee returns to center. Both hands hold the leg straightens. We're holding behind the leg, pulling the leg in toward the chest. And we release the leg, let the arms go overhead, full body stretch. Now we bring the left knee into the chest. Both hands grasp the left knee, pull it in tight. Right hand releases, goes off to the side. Right knee drops down, left knee, drops down to the left. Left knee comes back to center. Right hand comes across and grasps the left knee. Left arm goes out wide away from the body. Right hand guides left knee down to the right. So the left hip comes up off the mat. Knee comes back up to center. We reach behind, straighten the leg, pull that straightened leg back in toward the chest. And then return to our full body stretch. Very good. Bring the hands down by the sides and bend the knees. Now we're going to move into three different positions. We're going to just hold those positions for about 2 minutes each. We're going to sink into the positions and just relax and let them relax. First one, we're going to keep the hands by the sides and we're going to drop both knees off to the right. Now, when we do this, we often stretch the arms out and gaze out over the arm opposite the way the knees are bent. This time, I want the gaze to be straight up toward the ceiling, eyes closed, arms stay down by the sides. And I want you to simply relax into this pose. We'll be here, as I said, for a couple of minutes. As you're in this pose, identify any muscles that might be tight and see what you can do to relax those, especially muscles that might be around the upper legs, the hips, or the knees. And when we're relaxing muscles, often muscles we'll forget about are muscles of the face. So you can always check to see if the muscles around the eyes or the jaw are tight and if they can be softened. Bring the knees back to center. And again, keeping the hands down near the hips and the gaze straight up. Let both knees fall off to the left. We'll stay here for a couple of minutes. And again, it's not unusual for us to let some muscles re-tighten just a bit when we shift positions. So every time we make a change like this, you want to go back and rescan, reassess the body to see if there's anything that can be relaxed as we just sink into the pose. Let the knees come back up. We're going to move into one final pose and hold it for a little bit extended time. And that is our round angle pose. Bring the soles of the feet together. Let the knees fall out. If you'd like, you can put your hands on your thighs, which will have just a small amount of weight to the stretch and the inside of the thighs and side of the hips. Okay, bring the knees back together. Bring the heels close to the torso. Arms are extended, palms face down on the mat. We're going to move into a bridge pose. Knees are about hips width distance apart. We're going to push into the feet, lift the hips. Into bridge. In bridge pose, you might feel a little stretch in the fronts of the legs and the quadriceps. One goal is to have some equal weight in the feet as you push into the mat. You might choose to extend your stretch just a little bit by pushing into your forearms. Release the hips, let the hips settle back down to the mat. And let's finish this part of our practice before we move into Shavasana by hugging the knees into the chest and gently rocking side to side. Come to stillness, let the feet come to the mat. We're going to stretch the legs out long. Move into our resting pose, Shavasana. Hands come down by the hips, arms are long. Feet fall out, palms might be facing the ceiling, eyes are closed. And you're focusing on your breath, breathing gently in and out. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring some movement back into your body. Open and close the fingers, perhaps. Wiggle the toes. Rotate the wrists and the ankles. Gently turn the head side to side. And when you're ready, roll over to one side. Resting here for a moment. Perhaps trying to peer into the future, into what 2021 will hold for us. Gently bring yourself up into a comfortable seated position. Eyes closed, hands to heart center. My wish for you for the new year is for good health, for happiness from the inside out, for comfort from those who love you, and if you need it, the opportunities to begin again. Namaste.